But I would actually, as we get closer to the, towards kind of summing up, this whole story of dialogues, which I mentioned a little bit time back, and that's one clear seminal shift, from old age or timeless branding. The piece of the print advertisement is pretty much like a brick and mortar institution, which subsequently has become conversations with customer. And I think each one of us in this panel have been a part of this transition, or perhaps lived only in this new era as well. I would love to hear it. And I mentioned Swiggy for one reason, because it is a dialogue, right? Because it's about technology, it's about data, which leads to communication, which leads to service delivery. But that's just an example. I would love to hear from you your views on how this dialogue mindset is going to influence new age branding going forward, and what would be some examples you may have in mind as well. Shoot.
If I could go, I can talk about what we do for Netflix on an everyday basis. Our big strategy is, and it's out there, we're the biggest fans of content. And as the biggest fans of content, we're having dialogues with our community on an everyday basis. So let's take an example of, I don't know if you guys saw what we did with Radhika Apte some time ago. Radhika was in almost every Netflix film. And, there was another announcement that she's going to come out in another film. And the whole conversation on, on all our social profiles was, guys, what is happening? Does Netflix only have Radhika Apte? And we took exactly that and started having a conversation with the community and created a piece of creative which was called Radflix instead of Netflix. We made the joke on ourselves, and we put Radhika in every position that goes into the filmmaking process. So she was the director, she was the actor, she was everything. Now that dialogue, that conversation created so much that even today, if Radhika Apte comes in anything, the first piece that comes out is Radflix and Netflix, right? Just that constant dialogue keeps things going. We do that on an everyday basis on our social profiles for Netflix. Very important. It's not just the future. That is what we need to do today to be able to be relevant.
Gunjan, Ravinder, Rajeev, please shoot.
Sure. So just building off of what Pooja mentioned, there's obviously the whole aspect of social listening that allows brands to shape the dialogue. But there's also, I think, what we were mentioning earlier, which is the structures which allow it to happen. And those experiences, at least for Swiggy, because it's delivered over a technology platform, that's where the dialogues are happening. But we've sort of seen this across the board. So right now we're working on content marketing mandates for companies around the world, and we've actually placed teams in their offices in Russia and Poland and Thailand so that they're in touch with the local culture and they're able to converse with not just the brand teams but also understand who the customer is, and to be able to do that well. So I'll actually take an example of how that translated for HDFC, if I might, Mahesh. We actually worked on an HDFC Life event, and this was obviously pre-pandemic times where it was okay to be out and be with other people. It's an opportunity to actually overcome the loss of someone special to you. And we actually set up the event as a moment of catharsis, and you went through all the stages of loss, and that itself just got so much conversation. So it's not just about what the brand is putting out there, but what the person who's experiencing it feels and is able to go through all those stages along with that brand. That's then the facilitator of those experiences and those emotions. And I think that's where really it comes in. So like Pooja was mentioning, if it's Radflix, then it's like, hey, I relate with that. And I feel like I'm in this journey along with you. Or if it was HDFC Life on ground, it's like, hey, you're with me in this journey of overcoming this terrible loss. Or if it's a conversation online that maybe harps on nostalgia, and that's what Rajeev sort of, made us experience in the beginning of this conversation. It's anything that allows people to relate to a conversation. And then obviously, given the fact that, technology is allowing us to respond, that's what initiates the dialogue. So that's what you want. And just understanding how these platforms are built, they are built to incentivize engagement because that's what keeps people on those platforms. So that's what ends up making those pieces more trending.
So if I may add to that, it's, I think, a fundamental behavior shift that has to happen. So brands when you close your eyes and think of yourself as a brand, what do you do on social media, right? On a day-to-day basis, you check Facebook, you post to a friend, you evoke some dialogue there, you post something else on Instagram, you're evoking dialogue again. Now, small example, yesterday was John Lennon's birthday, right? 80th birthday. And about 3 months ago, I had created my version of Imagine, which is like a jazz version for the International Jazz Day. And I was tempted to put it out, right? But then I said, man, everybody's doing it, right? Everybody is putting their own version of Imagine. So I said, no, forget it. I'll do it. So, but now this is me behaving as a brand, right? Of what I want to put out. So therefore, it's not just about being seen and being heard, but it's about putting out something meaningful that will evoke dialogue, that will evoke a conversation. And I think that's important. So it's not saying I am a brand and therefore I have got to spend, and I will spend regardless of the context, the situation, but it's about being, just like a human being, really.
You can add to this, the entire pandemic, everybody was trying to create videos on Corona warriors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember when we had this 2005 deluge in Mumbai, that time we had created a film about the entire, there's a very emotional film done. Now, but we thought so much, we spent some time, we said that, whether do it, not do it. But today it's instant. Is it because it's not very expensive? Is it because the technology allows you to do it so fast? Is it just because you want to be visible just for the sake of being visible?
So
I think a bit of everything.
So one is about this dialogue thing. I mean, today it's easy. And there's also the question of what sort of a brand you are. I'll go back to this happened about 30 or 40 years ago when Coca-Cola bottle was changed. And the conversation on the street when there was no social media was, why did you change my Coke? That's what a brand is. So it's owned by people and saying, it's my Coke, why have you changed it? So that's what a powerful brand is. Now it's quite all right and it's quite fun, and it's brand building in the form that Pooja and Gunjan are speaking about. But what happens when a Coca-Cola stature brand like Maggi in India goes through a crisis? That's also a dialogue which is not being a reply on a social media platform. You have to make a large statement on TV, and I was at McCann at that time and that crisis was handled. So dialogue is important, absolutely, because your brand is a brand if people own it. If you own it, then it's not a brand. Then it's a monologue, right? So that's the one thing that I want to do. Add.